Debunked, where we analyze healthcare news with a healthy dose of skepticism and call out bad industry practices. I am Arundhati Parmar, Editor-in-Chief of MedCity News.
Well, first of all, happy Holi. We're not dressed like this because we're going to a big fat Indian wedding, are we? I'm Samir Batra, and I'm the managing partner of HIP, a early stage healthcare venture firm.
So, happy Holi it is. However, the mood in healthcare is not that colorful and spring-like, right? I'm referring to the massive cyber attack at United Health's claims processing unit, Change Healthcare. Mm-hmm. This attack took place in sort of mid-February or so, and it is still not fully recovered.
Yeah.
Tremendous impact on patients, on providers, on pharmacies, on health systems. I guess we have to change healthcare when it comes to cybersecurity practices. But let's take a step back and talk a little bit about what Change Healthcare actually does. So Change Healthcare, as I said, is part of United Health's Optum group. Now, they are an electronic clearinghouse for payments, be it patient payments or when providers submit claims to their insurers. Mm-hmm. Change Healthcare will process those claims. Now, what happened when they got attacked? Bad actors, of course. They took the systems offline. So if you're a provider now, you can't get paid for the services rendered. Or worse, if you're a patient and you use those medication copay assistant cards, you go to your pharmacy, you can't pick up your medication because the cards are not working. So you got two choices. A, pay out of pocket, or just walk away because you can't really afford it.
So how big is Change? I mean, United's big, but how big is Change then?
Big is an understatement. They're mammoth. So, couple of quick stats. According to Change Healthcare themselves, they process 15 billion payments, that's B for billion, annually, and that adds up to $1.5 trillion. Okay? Taken another way, now these numbers come from 2022, but again, according to Change Healthcare, in their network, they have 900,000 physicians, 118,000 dentists, 33,000 pharmacies, 5,500 hospitals, and 600 labs. And I should get a prize for remembering all of this.
That's impressive.
That's massive, right?
Now, your memorization was impressive. That's probably impressive as well, but yeah.
Well, if you remember, Samir, Change was actually a rival of Optum, right?
Yeah.
United Healthcare wanted to acquire Change, and then DOJ came in and sued and said, you know what, antitrust law. They were worried that Change Healthcare processed a ton of claims, and so United Healthcare would now know reimbursement rates of competitors, and that might lead them to behave in anti-competitive ways. But actually, the real problem seems to have been elsewhere. If you are the beating heart of the healthcare infrastructure, and that heart has an infection, the body doesn't get what it needs to function, and that's where we are today.
Wow. It's a pretty big problem, right? I would say so. So let's back up a little bit and let's talk about cybersecurity in the US, who's in charge, what's going on, obviously, right? So HHS, right, sort of controls this whole cybersecurity initiative environment. Office of Civil Rights did a study, and I think they indicated that between 2018 and 2022, there was a 93% increase in breaches.
Oh my God.
But here it gets even better. This is exciting. 278% increase in large breaches that had a ransom attached to it. So, man, either the hackers are getting smart and watching too many movies, or the movies are getting access to the hackers. So Black Cat, the ones that did this one, I don't know which way it was, right? But anyway, so obviously the office has to take some action. And in 2023, I think in March, President Biden also passed some legislation, or actually like landscape or some sort of strategy or things like that, right? So sort of setting up all these different guidances and procedures and things like this. So look, here's my take. There's guidance, there's assistance, there's incentives, there's training, right? All this stuff is there. But is that enough? Right? Like, I don't know if that's enough. right?
Well, there's always the eternal debate between if you don't regulate yourselves, the government is going to come in and regulate you. And I don't know if you've seen, obviously, the HHS office that you mentioned, the Office of Civil Rights, that's probing.
Yeah.
There's a lot of fury in Congress. So it looks like there will be some bipartisan action if the industry doesn't do something themselves. But I don't think anyone's relying on the industry to take care of this problem. There's no money. I mean, you have to invest. And well, I take that back. If you're United, you have tons of money. But are you investing in cybersecurity is the question.
So you know me, I'm not going to stop at that. I'm like, this is great. You have guidance, you have training, you're helping, you're giving best practices. Yeah, I think you totally got to go even more aggressive, right? So I have a proposal.
Oh, man. All right.
Okay? So you know how we have the FDA that as a medical device company or as a drug, so pharma, you have to go through, 10, 15 years for drugs, for devices, maybe it's 5 to 7, 10 years, before you actually get approved to sell a medication or a device in a health system or in a provider setting, right? So imagine if you had a similar body, and I'm going to coin it CSA.
Oh, God.
Cybersecurity Administration, okay? And the CSA would basically require technology companies that want to sell cybersecurity applications to the providers and the payers, because let's just be honest. So what are health systems and payers and healthcare entities doing today, right? They're buying cybersecurity technology software, right, to manage this threat, right, and to have safeguards. So one of the things that you could sort of sit there and say is, well, look, there's guidance, you have to teach people, like to look out for things, and you have to have training and all that stuff. I love. Okay, yeah, great. But let's also start from the root. As an investor and as an entrepreneur, I would sit there and say, let's also start from the root. It's so difficult for a device to get into the hands of a patient or a provider, right? Then you know what? Let's take this cybersecurity shit seriously. Let's actually make these companies, and then you know what? I'd hire a bunch of ex-Black Cat guys and be like, yo, hackers, go at it. Let me see if you can break this thing. And if you, I need to hack your solution. You need to pass hacking levels before you're allowed to sell to a market. So imagine creating a marketplace or safe haven for then these solutions to be sold. And then you know what? You will be able to potentially be at the same bar or level as the hackers, right? Because what do hackers do? They're always one-upping you.
Yeah.
Right? Imagine you had sort of an environment where you were being tested by hacker-level sophisticated tools to see, can you pass the threshold? I'm not saying it's the best thing in the world, but hey, you got any better ideas?
Well, I don't know about better ideas, but I think the VCs are going to really hate you for saying that.
Why? It's a great idea.
No, the only reason...
I'd invest in something like that.
The only reason that health tech VCs have stayed health tech is that it doesn't have the oversight of FDA.
Hey, look, there's VCs out there that invest in stuff like that. We do.
I know you invest in medtech and stuff like that, but there are tons of software companies and investors in software companies that do not want to touch FDA with a 6-foot pole. Now you want to do what?
I want to have a cybersecurity administration that approves. You're getting it's almost like the high-tech clearance and all this. You have other sort of stipulations for being like a federally mandated health information exchange and stuff like that. So you have all these guardrails around data. I'm saying, why not on cybersecurity, right? I'm throwing this out there, and look, it will take companies a while to get there and do all that stuff. But you also have an environment littered with cybersecurity solutions today. Why not take the solutions today and see if they can match that test? Government, you want to help control this breach? Because here's the thing that's happening, and AHA even said this, right? Oh, look, government's taking a page out saying, oh, you know what, we'll bail you out, we'll help you out. And then you know what's going to happen? But that's what's going to happen. No. If you keep having more breaches, people will be, man, government's going to bail me out.
Yeah.
With this level of scrutiny, it'll be really tough. And then the government can sit there and say, no, if you were able to hack something that we've approved, I mean, the chances of that happening hopefully are slimmer to none. With this, I mean, it's all-out warfare right now.
No, right? I do agree with you. I don't think the government should step in. I think
To bail them out.
To bail them out. Yes. Agreed. I'm not in favor of, especially when organizations have so much cash as payers and United.
Yeah.
I understand that the providers have issues, but not in favor of this kind of government bailout. I was actually okay with all the stuff of the financial crisis that we had, but somehow cybersecurity things seems like a preventable problem.
It is, and look, you know what? Just some anecdotes from people I talked to. I mean, it was crushing. Right? I talked to CIOs and chief innovation folks, and it hurt me. I'll tell you how it hurt me. I had meetings rescheduled. I had meetings canceled because they're like, "Yo, I'm trying to deal with a breach." Yeah, I was selfish in my nature, but it just exposed to me, and I was like, "Oh, okay." Then I followed up with them and said, how's everything going?" And he's like, "It's like the house is on fire."
But these are innovation folks, and they were affected by...
They literally, it was like call to arms for everybody in the health system. Hey, look, you need to help deal with this issue, make your calls, do whatever it is. And look, it's a trickle-down process. It impacted the payer. It impacted the provider. It impacted the patient. Hell, if you think about it from my perspective, it impacts the startup. If you're a startup who gets reimbursed and you have a hospital relationship and you're providing technology and service, and now, some procedure and service is not getting paid, well, guess what? It's going to trickle down. Who you think you're going to get paid?
Yeah.
Like, come on, man. You're not going to get paid. Look, I mean, I know we want to sunset this issue or like just move on from it because we're not going to solve it today, but I think there was good dialogue. But here's my thing with cybersecurity. Okay, I'm just going to say this.
All right, say it.
Cybersecurity is like gun control in this country. Okay, and I'm not trying to be like, I'm not trying to go there, but I'm going to go there. But I'm going to go there. Okay, I'm going to go there. When there's a shootout at an LGBTQ club, or there's a shootout at a mall, or there's a shootout at a school, we all throw our arms up, especially the other, the one party, this one party in the country that sits there and says, well, guns were not to blame, it's the people, it's,
right.
This and that. And we make noise about it, the president comes in and says, I'm going to do something about it. And guess what happens? 3 weeks later, it fizzles out. Guess what it fizzles out to? Oh, and then 6 months, a year later, we have another gun control issue. Oh, another shooting happens.
Yeah.
And then we get all up in arms. Cybersecurity, I hate to say it, is becoming one of these things. Oh my God, there's a breach. Guess what? No one's talking about United Healthcare right now. Even though the issue hasn't been solved, give it another few weeks, we'll forget about it till the next breach happens.
Well, I'm hopeful that it won't be like gun reform. I'm an eternal optimist, even though I'm supposed to be a cynical journalist.
Yeah.
So I will hope that something good comes out of it.
Well, this is why I'm proposing my CSA.
Well, we should ask our audience to email us at Debunked.
Yeah, tell me what you think about CSA. Debunk it.
Write to us at debunked@medcitynews.com and talk about, whether you think Sameer's idea is bird-brained or it's an actual good idea. Okay, but I do want to talk to you a little bit. I know we want to move on, but I do want to talk to you about the fact that they are supposedly paid off these people.
Oh, yeah.
Now, it was really interesting. I was actually at a healthcare conference in LA and I was talking to a CEO of Tampa General, and he basically said, they can't pay and they shouldn't pay because if you pay the ransom, there's no guarantee that they're going to return everything to you. They might have some malicious stuff in there when they return it, so the problem will crop up, a few days later. But they reportedly paid like
$22 million.
$22 million.
$22 million to a Bitcoin account for Black Cat.
Reportedly, I must say this. They have not confirmed. So that means that this was such a massive breach that they couldn't handle it. I mean, United could not handle it.
Oh, United's not a tech company. I mean, I wouldn't expect them to handle it.
Oh, I guess. So, I don't know.
I wonder what happened to the Bitcoin rate around that time when that happened. You should go check that.
That's beyond my pay grade. But moving on.
Okay.
We're moving on from Change Healthcare that perhaps is a little too entrenched in healthcare for comfort to a company whose relevance may be declining in healthcare.
Oh, that's sad.
You don't look too sad.
No, I mean...
Aren't you going to ask me what company I'm talking about? It's 23andMe.
Okay.
So, when they went public through a special purpose acquisition entity,
SPAC,
back in 2021, I think.
Yeah.
They had a $6 billion valuation.
Yeah.
And then now they are back. Not they're back. They've never been profitable. The stock price now is below $1. I think it was 40 cents.
Yeah.
In November, it was higher than that. The NASDAQ came in and said, hey, 23andMe, if you do not turn around this within the next 5 months, you're facing delisting.
Yeah.
So, I actually was very delighted. I got an invitation to go to 23andMe's JPM reception, and what happened at that reception was interesting. I mean, of course, I was super delighted. Top of the Salesforce Tower in San Francisco.
Ooh, fancy.
On a non-foggy San Francisco night. I thank whoever invited me for those stunning views. But the event felt lackluster. There wasn't that many people there. Usually JPM receptions are kind of, you're elbowing your way, right? You know this. It's chaos. And so Anne was there, very gracious. I went up to her and talked to her, and I said I wanted to sit down with her and do an interview. And she was very gracious again, said, happy to meet with me, and actually met with her earlier this week.
Oh yeah, how'd that go?
Oh, she's very nice.
She's a nice person.
Yeah. But the problem is that she has this weird company on her hands right now with 3 completely distinct businesses.
Yeah.
And each side is blaming the other side for the state that the company is in. So let's break it down.
Okay.
Obviously, there's the consumer gene testing side.
Yep.
And the genetic risk, your risk for genetic disease and ancestry. That's one part of the business.
Yeah.
Then you have the database of 15 million de-identified, people that have, submitted themselves for testing that pharma companies can use to, sort of identify drug targets for drug development. Okay. And then there's this newer third leg of the business that is actually a therapeutics business. They have 2 drug candidates.
Okay.
And they are in very early stages of clinical trial. So, I mean, I don't know. Let's forget the therapeutic side for a second. From the consumer side.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a curiosity. I mean, and maybe because I'm healthy, knock on wood, I'm going to get hit by cancer tomorrow. But
don't say that.
You take the ancestry test, it tells you where you're from. There's some little weird answer in there. I have some South Indian blood in me, God knows.
Wow, you actually got results? I thought that was only for white people.
I know. Plenty of non-white people have taken the test.
Really?
So anyway, I have apparently some South Indian blood, but I was like, that's curious. It's a conversation over dinner or cocktails. You forget about it. I'm not going to go back in.
One and done.
One and done. That's exactly what I told Anne.
Okay.
She disagreed. She felt that there is a huge, she has, customers that are completely grateful for learning things about their own, own health, discovering siblings and, things like that.
Sure.
So I think it's a curiosity. She thinks it's not. Now, they've also added a virtual primary care platform. They bought Lemonade.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Again, I feel like that part of the business is commoditized.
Okay.
Then there's the database part that I talked about. I don't know, again, complete speculation here, but if it were really that good, would GSK, the pharma company, gone off their exclusive license? Now they can essentially go to any pharma company. But if it was that valuable, wouldn't GSK want to hold on to it? Again, maybe completely silly speculation on my part. And then the third leg of the business might be very, very interesting with products down the road, but right now it's cash needy, right? So as a health tech investor, let's forget about the biotech for a side. As a health tech investor, if you're looking at the consumer side of the business, where do you see value?
I mean, I think in general, so I agree and disagree with you.
Okay.
And I agree and disagree with Anne.
Okay.
Because that's fair and balanced, right?
There you go.
So here's the thing. I think it's a positioning issue. Okay. So I come from the world of that looking into your data, looking into your blood, looking into your genetics, your DNA. I think there is what Anne did with 23andMe and other companies have followed suit is they brought to light a very important diagnostic, right? So you have a lens into who you are, right? The makeup of who you are. And especially in cancer, genetics and even in other diseases is a huge indicator of what's going to happen, right? So I think I understand what you're saying with the one and done thing. I think positioning needs to be better. Okay, look, you caught the early wave of the consumer saying, yeah, this is novel, this is cool, this is great. I think there's got to be some sort of modification of messaging and those sorts of things. Look, there's an obsession right now with caregiving solutions, longevity, healthy aging, right? All this stuff is being exposed. I mean, you go look at everything that's happening in the women's health space. There's so much genetics talked about in terms of how the women's health industry needs to evolve. So I think there's got to be a little bit of pivoting of marketing that needs to happen. I think there is a lot of value there, and I think the other thing that maybe they need to look at in that business is, again, I'm not trying to say that she should go acquire or partner or build, buy, whatever. That's for her to decide. That's for them to figure out. But there's other companies popping up that are doing like biomarkers and other tests, right? So look, if you want to be the testing platform, why are you just sitting there just doing genetic and DNA tests? Like, there's other sorts of testing, right? So maybe there is a consolidation there, right? Maybe there is like companies that are going to come together and fold into one or whatever it is, to basically bolster you being the consumer at home, internal testing. It could be blood and other different parameters and whatever it is, right? So there's that element. So I think there's a little bit of a messaging thing that needs to happen. Maybe there's some investments that need to happen. Maybe there's some way to rework the I think that business has a place. Yes, you have to be realistic that you're not going to go and run away with the market like you did before. It happens to everybody. Mr. Tesla, he's getting hurt right now, right? Like, everybody's coming after him. Last year was the first year that Tesla was not the number one EV seller. Now what's happening? He's slashing prices. So I think it happens to everybody. Your reign at the top is at a certain level. If you don't continue to innovate, you will get displaced. Happened to GE, happened to GM, happened to Kodak. It happens to everybody. But you have the ability to, what are you going to do? What's your next move, right? Your stock is so low, you're close to being delisted. Regardless of the fact, you're sitting on pounds and mounds of data. What you going to do, right? So I think that's one thing. The other two sides of the business, I don't know, man. Like, I think the one part where you're licensing your data to other pharmas and biotechs to like use the data, I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, I like that. You got to get a little smart on that. Maybe hire the right people to run that part of the business. The part about going and building your own therapeutics, oh my God, that scared the crap out of me.
Oh God, that's why you're not a biotech investor. People have the patience for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but you're going to need a lot of money.
Yes.
And who's going to, like, I read about this, who's going to give her money? She can't raise money right now.
No, then this is why they're going to split apart the business. She's already said that. She's going to split, and that's the smartest thing to do.
Then you're going to have to delist.
Well, we'll see.
NASDAQ's not going to let you stand on that merit. You're going to have to cut up the business.
Wait,
you're going to have to take it private, maybe.
That part might go private.
Yeah.
But, I mean, honestly, that business is not contributing to revenue, so why should that business lead it to become delisted?
If it's a cost center, then
they're doing clinical trials. Of course, it's a cost center.
I mean, yeah, maybe.
But then again, I disagree with the other analogy that you said, that there were companies at the top, and they didn't innovate, so they now face competition, including Tesla. This company's never been profitable.
Yeah. Well, Amazon was not profitable for the longest time either.
Oh my God! Yeah, you start an argument. Yeah, it is true. It's an interesting company. We'll see what happens.
I think Anne also has a brand.
Yes.
And I think she's shown that, like, if you go read her history of how it happened, I mean, it's pretty cutthroat.
She's pioneering.
She's cutthroat. Yeah. Right? And so, I mean, there's people who are betting on her.
Yeah.
And there's people who are questioning her.
Yeah.
I think as long as she listens, like, you also need to check your ego at the door. And I think you told me that about your conversation with her. I read the Wall Street Journal article about her. She did. She got called out and she admitted. She's like, I said that. We didn't perform.
Yeah.
So that tells me when humility enters the equation for an entrepreneur, just like at all times, there's two ways you can go. You're either going to go down with the ship, or you're going to sit there and say, mi culpa, and I'm going to go ahead and figure this out.
Yeah.
So I think there is potential. And look, these other platforms that are coming out, it would hurt them big time if 23andMe goes down.
Or right? You mean other platforms like Everlywell and all
exactly. Those biomarker, all those other testing platforms, their gold standard, their reason they're raising capital was like, oh, look at 23andMe. Look at 23andMe.
Yeah.
So I think there is a business model there. It's going to be a volume business. You're going to have to lower prices. You're going to have to maybe do partnerships, buy stuff, whatever it is, to keep that sustainable machine revving. That's the only way. And then look, like how you said, oh, I'm Indian and I went on it and stuff like that on the ancestry side.
Yeah.
I was surprised because the reason I haven't done those is I was like, dude, most of that stuff is like white people data. Like, so I was like, there's not going to be data for me on there.
Curiosity is not a white people anything. Everyone is curious. I also got
But how are you going to find out where I'm from? Like, there's no data. There's no information from an ancestry perspective.
from your genes.
From your genes, okay, all right, that's fine.
That's the science.
Yeah.
That's way beyond me,
From the
and I
science
think it's
side.
beyond
All right,
you too.
yeah, sure, whatever. I mean,
By the way, I did not pay for it. It was a complimentary.
there you go.
thing. I did not pay.
There's a lot of complimentary testing platforms out there now.
It was complimentary. Yeah. All right. So now we're going to move to a new section of Debunked, which is called Ask the Host.
Yeah.
Samir is an investor. I'm a journalist. So we thought that every so often we're going to shower some pearls of wisdom on you. So on that note, Samir, let's start with what really turns you off when you're listening to an entrepreneur pitch.
Yeah.
Your founders, they're excited, they want your money. What turns you off?
Well, I'm going to flip it a little bit. I'm going to actually say, here's sort of my turn-offs, or I'll say my one piece of advice for an investor and for the entrepreneur.
Sounds good.
And then, we can add to this every time we talk about this.
Sure.
So for me, for the startup, I think what really turns me off is when an entrepreneur comes to me and tells me, hey, I'm raising capital and I have a close coming up in 2 months, right? And I'm like, look, man, why don't you first live in reality, okay? Like, that's great if it was 2021 or 2022. It's 2024, right? So just be realistic. Don't come to an investor and already box me into a timeline, okay? I understand. Now, the only way I'll say you can suggest to me a hard timeline is you actually have a lead investor. Well, then show me the term sheet and show me where it says, hey, listen, I got to close because my lead investor is telling me. If you don't have a lead investor, shut the hell up about your damn close date, okay? Because that means shit. It means it's as good as the paper that you wrote it on, and that's like worth 2 cents from Staples, okay? So I'm sorry for saying that, because here's the thing, and I'll tell you why. I have a startup I've been talking to for 9 months. They've told me they're closing 4 times.
Yeah.
Have they closed? No.
They want you.
They're still waiting. They're still waiting to get an answer, right? But here's the thing: you have to live in reality. Raises are taking longer.
Okay.
Right? That's just the reality of it. So please don't bullshit me.
Yeah.
Okay. Don't bullshit me. And then on the investor side, be honest with the startup. Right.
Okay.
This whole keeping them afloat and letting them be and not delivering hard line feedback. That's bullshit. Okay.
Wait, you mean that they
as an investor?
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
As an investor. Oh, believe me, I don't do this because can you tell? I wouldn't do that to somebody, but I'll tell them how it is.
Yeah.
No, they'll sit there and be like, oh yeah, it's not a good fit right now. Oh, we need to get back to you. Oh, it's too early.
Okay, string them along.
Don't string them along.
Okay.
Just basically just tell them what you want.
Yeah.
Right. And if that's something that they can do, then great. If they can't do it, don't string them along.
Okay, so why do they string them along? Because they feel bad or why?
Look, people have a hard time saying no.
No, true.
Right? It's humanity. But guess what? As an investor, I hate to say this.
Yeah.
My world is full of no's.
True.
Very few yeses.
Yes.
So maybe that's why I became an investor, because before my world was I used to hear all the no's and I used to hear very little yeses. I don't know, but my point is, don't string them along. Just be honest.
Okay.
I think if that honesty happens from the investor side, and the startup is being honest about their capital raise strategy and their timeline. Yeah. Look, the whole industry just needs a little bit more clarity and an honesty, and I think we're just sort of playing coy with each other the whole time. So but forget that. I want to hear about the media side.
The media side.
Yeah.
So what gets me super mad?
Yeah. Not too many things, no, of course.
Many things. I am an unsettled malcontent. Okay, so this is what happens almost every single time that I meet with the founder. There are very few people that answer the way I want them to answer. So, I'm meeting an entrepreneur. They're talking about their company. Of course, they're excited about their company. They feel it's the best thing since sliced bread.
Yeah.
So then I ask, okay, what's the competitive landscape? And they have the gall to tell me, no one's doing what we're doing. We don't have any competitors.
I hear that too.
We don't have any competitors. That is such BS.
Yeah.
I have no words to describe it. Even when Apple invented their iPhone,
Yeah.
the touchscreen had been developed by Xerox.
Right.
Ages ago, right?
Right.
So unless you invented the wheel for humanity, dude, there
Yes.
are other people doing what you're doing. Maybe not exactly what you're doing.
Sure.
Maybe you have some creativity, but please don't tell me that there are no competitors.
Right.
Now, there are some people that will tell you that they actually go through a list.
Right.
They will tell you, okay, in this part of the business, this person is doing that.
Sure.
And they name the competitors. Please name your competitors.
Of course.
You gain in so much credibility when you name competitors.
100%.
You know, journalists are not super technically savvy, but they're generally smart people, and there's something called the worldwide internet. A lot of research is available on that. So they will find out who your competitors are, and they will tell you.
Yeah.
They will write in the article, as I've done, even though so-and-so said they have no competitors.
Call you out.
These are the competitors. So please, 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 this is my one request to any entrepreneur listening in, please do not tell people that you don't have competitors.
I'd love to add something to that, okay,
Sure,
for you. And
sure.
this is something you can say to the startups.
Okay.
Because I have the same pain.
Okay.
We share the pain, okay? But here it is. Oh, I have no competitors. Here's why I sit there and push back sometimes. On the surface, I'll sit there and say, okay, yeah, sure, you don't have competitors. Okay, so who are you selling to? Oh, I'm selling to a provider or a payer. Great. So if they don't buy you,
Who do they buy?
Who are you going to buy? So listen, you might have a competitor, but you have a competitor for the budget or the money that's going to be given to you.
Exactly.
Guess what, buddy? Those are competitors.
Yes, yes.
Right? They're called opportunities for me to deploy my money,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
In a different manner.
Yeah.
So if I'm not going to do you, but I'm going to go ahead and spend it over here. That's a competitor, buddy.
Yes.
Think about it that way. Not like directly apples to apples, but where could that money go if it didn't go to you?
Yes, yes. Very smart. So those were our pearls of wisdom. And with that, we conclude our show today. Thank you so much for watching. And please keep writing to us at debunked@medcitynews.com.
All right. Thank you. Happy Holi.